Hey everybody, my name is Paul Eston Jr., aka Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. We're streaming live right now in 3 different locations. The Heavy on Jets Facebook page to 31,000 New York Jet fans. And boy, we have a lot to get to. My YouTube channel, youtube.com/BoyGreen25. And on the Twitter account, the Jets_zone. Feel free, guys, to show your support wherever you're watching. The free way to contribute if you're watching on YouTube is liking the video and hitting subscribe down below. We are in the middle of the NFL owners meeting, the annual league meeting where everyone is all gathered in one place out there in Arizona. Robert Saleh spoke to the media earlier today for 30 plus minutes. General Manager Joe Douglas also just wrapped up media as well, but I've not gotten an opportunity to see that. That full press conference is not live yet. That'll be later. So guys, make sure if you want the update and kind of insight into some of the Joe Douglas stuff, we'll have another video out later tonight on the full Joe Douglas presser. But I got an opportunity to take a bunch of notes. We'll go through all those on Robert Saleh speaking to the media and some big takeaways, quite frankly, on a lot of different things that Robert Saleh said. Also, guys, wherever you're watching, feel free to drop questions, comments, what have you, and we'll be getting into that as well. But to start us off, let's have a little bit of fun. This was the end of the Robert Saleh press conference with the media. And a little comment from Rich Cimini. Let's roll the footage here. This was hilarious. A quick little video here.
You're trending. Shit. You're trending. Shit.
There he is. That is Robert Saleh. In case you missed that little back and forth, Rich Cimini at the end of Robert Saleh's 30-minute media availability, both local and national reporters. Rich Cimini said, "Hey, look, you're trending on Twitter after your media chatter." And all I did was go, "Shit." And then everyone started laughing, and they went, "Oh, boy," on some of the answers he gave. We'll actually go into a few of them, and one where it was kind of like, what did he just say? Okay, he clarified. We'll get into that as well. A bunch of comments to get into. So like I said, guys, wherever you're watching, feel free to show your support. Let me go through a couple of quickies here, then I'll get to all your comments of everybody who's hanging out in here. Ezekiel Elliott, let's get to that one right off the get-go. By the way, if you guys would like to read more information about some of these comments Saleh made, we're doing a bunch of columns on Heavy on Jets. The column below is on the Saleh Ezekiel Elliott thing, which caused an absolute firestorm, of course, last week heading into this week. Robert Saleh gave a very blunt response on how he feels. We'll get into that right now. So here's the full story. Let's kind of take a step back first to get a full picture. Ezekiel Elliott gets cut by the Dallas Cowboys. He was a number 4 overall pick, has been with the Cowboys forever. They dump him, okay? Schefter sends out a tweet like a few days ago, last week, right? Where he says Ezekiel Elliott, the player, has narrowed down his options on where he wants to play, and he hopes to make a decision by the end of next week. And those 3 teams were the Philadelphia Eagles, the Cincinnati Bengals, and the New York Jets. Now, the way that Adam Schefter phrased that tweet seemed to suggest that all those 3 teams were also interested in Zeke, and Zeke was picking between the one he wanted. However, based upon further review, it sounds like none of those teams were interested in Zeke, and those were teams that Zeke was interested in playing for. Zach Taylor, the Bengals head coach, came out and said, "That's news to me, basically. We're good with our room." The Eagles come out. "We're happy with our room. Good to go." And then Robert Saleh today, we've heard a couple of other things as well. And Saleh says simply this. Here is his comments on Zeke. He was asked about Zeke twice, once earlier in the press conference. And here was his response initially. "We love our running back room. I'll leave it at that." Rich Cimini asked the question and talked about the conflicting reports of whether they're in or out. Saleh says, "We love our running back room. I'll leave it at that." At the end of his presser, he's once again asked about the Ezekiel Elliott interest. And he said, quote, "Again, he is part of the free agent list that we all studied. But when you look at Breece Hall, Ty Johnson, Michael Carter, and Bam Knight, the guys that we have in the room, we're really excited about the guys we have." So long story short, it was fun for a little while of Zeke thinking about coming to the Jets, or the Jets, potentially interested in a guy who's led the league in rushing twice. And quite frankly, my dad's a diehard Cowboys fan. I would have loved Zeke here for veteran minimum. I think it would have been nice to the room. Add a little, as Will Parkinson said, a little LaDainian Tomlinson flavor, potentially, which would have been nice. But the Zeke rumors are now dead after Robert Saleh's comments. He was very emphatic in that, saying that he loves the room, and it caused a little bit of a ruckus there. So we start off with the Zeke stuff. We still got to get to Zach Wilson, Carl Lawson, and so much more. Let's welcome a few people in. Ragnar Jed here. Paul, do you want to add a running back to the room, draft free and see who? Yes. This is kind of a perfect segue coming off the Zeke chat. Guys, I'm going to be honest. I love Brees. I can't say that enough. Something me and Brees now have in common is 2 blown ACLs. Mine was, I could speak to mine from Taekwondo. This just happened somewhere recently at my 4th degree black belt test a couple weeks ago, and then I've had a lot of medical exams to confirm it. I blew out my ACL, completely ruptured it, and I also did some damage to my meniscus. And I'm just hearing about the process of putting my knee back together and how that's going to look like with surgery and all kinds of other things. And while not every ACL injury is the same, obviously, I don't have Brees Hall's medical records in front of me, but from talking to people that are inside the building, people that are around the team, there is conflicting reports on when they believe Brees Hall will be back. People around the Jets say, oh, he's going to be back week 1. People kind of removed from the Jets to just kind of cover the team say, not so sure. So again, we're getting conflicting reports there from that standpoint. So without really knowing the status of Brees Hall, that changes the entire dynamic of the room. Because if I'm the Jets, I'm being cautious with Brees Hall. We're not playing for week 1. We're playing for the playoffs and Super Bowl, of course, if the Jets end up getting Aaron Rodgers, which we'll also provide an update on. So with all that in the mind, all that in the process, look at the rest of the room. Ty Johnson, I mean, what are we talking about? A coaching favorite, but let's be real. Zonovan Bam Knight, he regressed at the end of the year. He didn't have, obviously, wasn't there the entire season, practice squad and floating around, but like, did he regress because the offensive line stunk? Did he regress because he was a flash in the pan or what? I don't know. I don't know the answer to some of these questions. I'm just asking these hypotheticals out there. So Zonovan, went down at the end of the year, not injury-wise, just kind of went down like stock. Michael Carter coming off a bad year. So all of a sudden you say, who is the guy in the backfield? The Jets say, and I've talked to a few people, it's also in the article that's linked down below, don't forget about Michael Carter. Don't forget about Michael Carter. People keep telling me that. So maybe he's going to have a big pop in year 3. We'll see. To me, to go back to your question, Ragnar, yes, I would add a running back to the room. Kareem Hunt would be interesting to me. A day 3 running back, Sean Tucker out of Syracuse. I would love Sean Tucker. I heard Deuce Vaughn. That was Dane Brugler on the Jets official podcast. Those are guys. I'd add another guy to the room, quite frankly. And I'm not saying you have to go Christian McCaffrey, reset the market $16 million a year. That's not what I'm saying at all. But you need another body in the room. I would say that. Absolutely. You absolutely need another body in the room. So I would draft free and see who. Those are a couple options that I would see. Kareem Hunt, everybody else. All right. Hey, Boy Green, how's it hanging? My ACL. I feel like joking will get us through it, but that's neither here nor there. Welcome, RKO. Greg Bubb. Hey, Paul. Go. Jets, jet. Yeah, baby. Love it. Love the jet tattoo. It looks like they're very nice. Watching in Gulfport today. Very nice. Okay. I love it. That's awesome, brother. I appreciate all you guys, wherever you're watching. The internet, baby. You can watch from anywhere. Franco. Boy Green, thanks for your dedication and hard work. Appreciate you. Also, no more bring up trading Jeremy Ruckert. He. Yeah, I know a lot of fans. I feel like I'm one of the only ones who's bringing it up as a possibility. Again, it's not sourced. I'm just kind of reading the tea leaves of the Packers roster, Jets roster, kind of dabbling a little bit. Again, he diehard Jets fan. His dad's a Jets fan. Let's keep him here if we can. Boy Green, Julio Boy Green is the question. Boy Green, should the Jets get involved in the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes now that he's requested a trade? Yeah, in case you guys missed the big news earlier, Lamar Jackson publicly requested a trade. Apparently, he privately requested a trade 25 days ago, March 2nd. He told the Ravens. We just heard from Joe Douglas. Again, we're going to have a full video later on it, guys. So I try to do all my videos cross-streamed on Heavy on Jets, so if you guys are watching on the Facebook page, make sure you're subscribed to YouTube. You'll never miss a video. You'll always get it, so make sure you do that. Again, youtube.com/BoyGreen25. So we can react to some of the quotes I've seen. I haven't been able to hear Joe Douglas myself. That presser is not made available yet. That normally is posted on both NewYorkJets.com and YouTube.com/NewYorkJets. So I have to check that out later for a full breakdown of that presser. But we can react to some comments, and the comments are, Joe Douglas said, quote, it would be disingenuous for the Jets to go down the Lamar Jackson path with how deep they are in Aaron Rodgers. So there is a chance, of course, if this drags out, that the Jets could get involved at a later point. Julio, and again, Lamar Jackson, 26 years of age, former NFL MVP. I just think Aaron Rodgers thing is going to get done. But if somehow something happened there, to me, it would take something completely unforeseen for the Jets not to end up with Aaron Rodgers. The Lamar Jackson thing is possible, but that may be a post-draft thing in no man's land. But at this point, it doesn't sound like the Jets are going to be involved. Let's go to G-Father here. It's either Odell or Corey. No way it can be both of them, especially after hearing Lawson is someone they want to keep. How can they afford all this? Let's get to your point, G-Father. That was one of my big takeaways from Robert Saleh in his press coverage. Again, guys, what we're reacting to, this entire video, is reacting to Robert Saleh at the NFL owners meeting. He sat down with local and national media for 30-plus minutes. It's a great presser, a lot of bites, a lot of great stuff. I'm sifting through. Again, I took a bunch of notes here. It's like a page and a half of sloppy chicken scratch, but I can interpret it. One of the biggest takeaways for me, G-Father, is what he said about Carl Lawson. Now, for most of the personnel questions, like this player, Robert Saleh kept deflecting. Joe Douglas question, except for one. There was one player that he didn't do that for. That was Carl Lawson. I'll read you a couple of the quotes. He said, I'll speak for Joe on this one. And again, he was deflecting most of the personnel questions earlier. He said pass rushers don't grow on trees, and went on this diatribe of saying how they plan on keeping Carl Lawson. So all the people were saying cap casualty this, again, all coaches can lie, of course, but he really went out of his way on this Carl Lawson. I want to say he ain't going anywhere. So Carl Lawson is staying, which is interesting with contract structure. Maybe, again, a mini extension is coming, especially with how much they love him. And I think that's great news, by the way. Another year removed from the Achilles injury. I think Carl Lawson's going to be a beast, so I love it. So let's go back to the Odell Corey thing. That was another thing interesting from Saleh. He went out of his way to say Corey Davis, we're keeping him. So that was also another interesting one, where it seemed like they went out of the way to, say that they're going to get both. They've also, of course, expressed interest. Both Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas both mentioned that they'd want Odell. I don't know how it works, though. We start going through. So you have Mecole Hardman, Allen Lazard, Garrett Wilson. And then you start thinking about, Corey Davis and Denzel Mims, and then Odell potentially. Again, on a Madden team, it all makes sense, but how does it there? I'm not sure. By the way, real quick on how they can afford all this, G-Father, get back to your point. I think here's the thing with Corey Davis. If you keep him, I don't think you keep him at his number. His number's fine. If he was one of the top receivers on the team, he wouldn't be in this new scenario. I'd probably offer him the Jamison Crowder restructure. Remember, a couple years ago, Jamison Crowder had $10 million non-guaranteed. And what he and the Jets figured out is, okay, we're going to make it $5 million. We're going to shave $5 million off, but we'll make your $5 million fully guaranteed. So you went from having no protection or financial security to having $5 million of protection and security. The player gets a little bit of money. The Jets save some money. Booyah. I think that's probably the perfect solution for Corey Davis, again, if you're keeping him, which, again, the run blocker would be tremendous with Allen Lazard and Corey Davis out there. So that would be one way to save it for Corey. And on Odell, I think ultimately the money for Odell is either going to be a one-year incentive-laden deal, although it sounds like OBJ wants a multi-year deal. So maybe we talked about this in our mailbag we posted on the Heavy on Jets page, maybe a 3-year deal, $30 million, maybe in the 10 to 15 million guaranteed ballpark, but a lot of incentives to really back up the rest of that deal. But in terms of how can they afford it, there's a lot of money they could continue to kick down the road, to be honest. And again, we have to see how the money is split up with Aaron Rodgers. Buck Skull Gang in-house. How long is the recovery time? On my specific ACL injury, my doctor told me I've not had surgery. They just moved up the new appointment to next week. They said anywhere from 8 to 12 months off the mats for me. Again, I do Taekwondo, not mixed martial arts, straight up martial arts. And I was in the middle of my 4th degree black belt test. So it seems like from that perspective, it was 8 to 12 months for me. Every injury is different. And again, do you just blow out your ACL? To me, I was in the middle of a defrigi. That's Korean. It's a back spin kick. I did so much damage. I didn't just break the ACL or pop it or get rid of it or whatever. It burst, whatever the word they used, imploded, right? I had damage to that, the meniscus and everything. So I did a lot more damage. And I don't know what I don't have Breece Hall's x-rays or MRIs in front of me. But 8 to 12 months is what I heard for me. I can only imagine what it is for Breece. And obviously he's a super athlete and I'm just some Joe. But so we'll kind of take a look there. Rico the Pup. Boy Green, how are you, my friend? Yes, I agree on Zeke. He would have been a goal line back at best. Do we want that? We can find that in later rounds for less money and fresher legs. I don't think on less money, to be honest with you. Maybe a little bit less if it's a rookie day 3, but Zeke would have been veteran minimum. He's getting paid by the Cowboys. So I push back on the money, but fresher legs probably. Although, again, he's still 27, so he would have been a nice goal line back, short yardage. He's a touchdown machine. He has 24 touchdowns over the last 2 years. I would have loved it. It doesn't sound like it's going to happen. So But maybe you can just get another guy, but not as proven as Zeke. That's for sure. I'm assuming Bucks are saying wouldn't mind OBJ to the Jets. Me either. I do love OBJ and the Jets. I've heard some Jets content creators are not for it, but I am. Joe Campione, which Taekwondo, WTF or ITF? It is WTF, which I understand. There's a reason why they're trying to change it from WTF, because we all know it as what the Taekwondo at the time. They didn't think us, silly Americans would have said WTF, ha ha ha. But yes, the World Taekwondo Federation is what we are, which is Kuki Wan certified. ITF, to be honest, the last I heard, Joe Campione, is disbanded, and that ITF barely exists anymore, which is kind of sad. One of my sparring mentors was part of the ITF, and that's how he came up. So it's kind of sad that I've heard most of that is disbanded. So mostly it's just WTF, which is the World Taekwondo Federation, or it's just kind of, I don't want to insult other Taekwondo dojangs, but not certified WTF. So they're just kind of, hey, I'm just starting my own thing in my local town. Like, it's not certified. So it's WTF. ITF, I've heard, has disbanded, was the local conversation in our dojang semi-recently. So not great, unfortunately. But yes, WTF for me. I've been in Taekwondo since 2008, 15 years ago. The Brett Favre year, which is how I remember it now. Julio, week 1, but he won't be the same player until he's 100%. We'll need to get another running back. That's how I feel, Julio, to be honest. And again, they should play cautious because you're not playing for week 1. You're playing for Super Bowl playoffs and everything else. Gary, Coach Saleh stated they are not looking for a running back on today's press conference. Yeah, I just said that in terms of the Zeke stuff, but I don't know. I think they need another running back. Zandy, Saleh said it, quote unquote, takes 2 to tango regards to Rodgers trade. Which side do you think isn't tangoing? Well, the Jets side says, hey, look over there. The Packers side says, hey, look over there. I heard from Field Yates earlier today. Listen to that on Get Up this morning. Tweeted it out from the Jets Zone account. Basically, it's where we thought we were at. The Jets say, kick rocks, Packers. We're not giving up the 13th overall pick. Packers have retorted to that saying, this is Aaron Rodgers, 4-time NFL MVP. We're not going to trade him for a 3rd or 4th round pick. So then both sides are, quote unquote, heels dug in, according to Field Yates. So it's just an awkward staring contest. So in terms of who isn't tangoing, both aren't tangoing. Although Joe Douglas said today, again, we'll have a full video out later on it. He said that he's in no rush, and that ultimately he believes it will get done. So I think it's both sides. Again, a Jets person, I'd be like, it's definitely Green Bay. If you listen to Green Bay podcasts, definitely Jets. But I think ultimately we find the conclusion sooner rather than later. Franco, love that we are keeping Lawson. Pass rushers are a hot commodity. I love Carl Lawson, man. I love the mentality. I love what he's about. I love the analytics of Carl Lawson. He had quietly 7 sacks last year. A lot of people called it a disappointing year, and it was in a lot of respects. But I think a year removed, he's going to be even better. Thomas Doyle here. What do you think about the wide receiver situation? Let's see. Great, to be honest. Super talented. I want to add OBJ to the mix personally. I'd love to see it. Corey Davis one is interesting. I mean, to be honest, he's been kind of disappointing. Not kind of. I mean, he's been disappointing. The injuries, inability to have consistency on the catch, again, to drop a slant, then catch a one-handed pass is super annoying. He's a good run blocker, good leader in the locker room for what we hear. So if he stays, I'll be curious how it looks, because I think OBJ's coming. Watching from the UK, Dean Scott, appreciate you on YouTube. Beautiful. Let's go to RKO. Cousin told me we should release Corey Davis, Ashton Davis, Lawson, and Ty Johnson, and sign Elliott minimum, OBJ, Campbell, and Ben Judge as replacements. Thoughts? So let's go through a couple of these. Ashton Davis could get cut. That's possible. Lawson won't get cut. We heard that. Ty Johnson was just re-signed, so that doesn't make any sense. Corey Davis, I think you could probably get something for him in trade. Elliott minimum. I love Elliott minimum, potentially. OBJ I love. Calais Campbell, who the Jets are flying in on Wednesday. What's today? Monday? Tuesday? What is today? Today, Monday? Monday. Yes, today's Monday. I'm losing track of days. Today's Monday, so they're flying in Calais on Wednesday, and then he will have a in-person visit on Thursday. Ben Jones, the Jets are interested in. There was another nugget. Robert Saleh said, quote, Yes, for sure. Interested in Ben Jones, but we have to see how that works out. Joe Douglas also reiterated the interest in Ben Jones. Calais Campbell, they were visiting with, obviously. OBJ, they've been open about their conversations with their camp. So I could see all of those. So OBJ, yes. Campbell, yes. Ben Jones, yes. But the other ones, no. They're not going to cut Ty Johnson. They just re-signed him. They could cut him later down the line, maybe ahead of, final 53 or something. Ashton Davis could be cut. Lawson won't be cut for what we just heard. And Corey Davis is interesting. How close do you think we are with any quarterback? Robert on our Facebook page. Again, it's Aaron Rodgers or bust. So relative, like that's a mentality. The Jets are getting Aaron Rodgers. They're operating that Aaron Rodgers will be their quarterback. So Aaron Rodgers is going to be the guy. Again, doomsday scenario is June or something. And Lamar Jackson still hanging out there with the non-exclusive tag. Then you go in that direction. Lamar goes to the Patsies. We talked about this on my radio show. I went through the standings. I'll try to go real quick here on the Lamar Jackson stuff. And then we'll answer the rest of some of my comments here that I gathered from those. So let's go through. Patriots are the only team in the AFC. So there's one. No one else in the AFC North. I could see Tennessee being involved. Indianapolis. Houston won't be because of the draft. Indy, I think, also would not go the veteran route, although Lamar Jackson's different than Phillip Rivers or Matt Ryan. Let's see here. Washington, I don't know what the hell they're doing. They should probably jump in. Sam Howell, Jacoby Brissett, like what are we talking about? Tampa Bay should be in on Lamar Jackson. Atlanta obviously should be. Those are the glut teams that should be involved from that standpoint. He could go to the Pats, but are they giving up 2 first-round picks and then like $250 million? I'm not sure. Corey Davis is a big body that we need. Here's a fun fact. I heard this from Eric Allen over the weekend during their Jets free agency special recap. Alan Lazard at 6'5". There has never been a Jets receiver that's lined up taller than 6'5" since 1970, since the modern draft era. So take that for what you will. So Lazard bringing some size. Corey Davis also some nice size at 6'3". Timothy, I'd rather have too many wide receivers than not enough. That's 100%. Couldn't agree more. Denzel Mims trade could go to Green Bay or maybe a camp thing, like he looks good and then you flip him. I could see that. Franco, that could be. The Packers were in on Denzel Mims during that draft 2020. So yes. Roger, no way to Odell. Don't need that attitude in the locker room. To be honest, he's a beloved player from what I hear in the locker room. So yes, he would be a welcomed addition, I think, from that. Lawson and Davis will stay. Lawson for sure. Davis is more than we thought. Dan Byrne here. We could use another safety. What do you think? Sure. Yeah. Although Saleh kind of gave a I don't want to say lukewarm, but it was a bigger like, hey, Jordan Whitehead's going to be better in year 2. And then you have Chuck Clark. So maybe not. Maybe not. Could we? Yeah, we could use another safety. We'll probably add another one. They've got Ashton Davis. They got Tony Adams, who they like. They have Chuck Clark, and they have Jordan Whitehead. I would like to add another guy to the rotation, but we will see. We will see. Dean Scott, I strained my MCL and it took 3 months to heal. Knees suck when they bust. Good night. That was a sprain, and I blew mine to smithereens. And we'll have surgery here in the near future, probably ahead of the 2023 NFL draft. Tough. But yeah, hopefully you guys can all get through that. Timothy, he's also got the best doctors in the world to get him ready. That's true. Obviously, I don't have that. So hopefully that's better. Again, I would love to be surprised. If Breece Hall is ready for week 1, sign me the hell up. I just don't think, I'm not sure if that's realistic. Trade Mims, lower Davis money. Could be. That could make sense. WTF, the Washington football team. Yeah, that's right. Leonard Fournette, I've heard about that. Badlands floated that as a possibility. The Badlands podcast, Leonard Fournette could make sense. I think we should get Lamar from Kano. Does not sound like they're going to be. What is the name of the first few forms? For me, for my 4th degree test, some of the testing forms I had is Tyvek. That's one of ours. We have all the Palgways. This is Korean talk. All the... for my 4th degree black belt test. Again, I blew out my ACL, for those who missed it. Blew out the ACL, did some meniscus damage. Yeah, so Tyvek, Palgways. Those are some of the ones I was responsible for. Palgway O, Palgway Uke, Palgway Chill, Palgway Pal, those kind of things. Plus, you have to make up all your own Husinsus, which are grabs. If someone just grabs you and attacks you, how do you get out of that? And all the creative board breaks. I had a North-south power break, almost Samoan style elbow down. I had a jumping forearm strike, jumping off someone's body. Let's see, what else did we have? We had a 3-board combination, front leg roundhouse kick, 360 roundhouse kick, and then spinning back fist. That was part of the triple combination break. We also had a inverted roundhouse kick where I lay on the ground and then you flip up and kick downward on that roundhouse as well. So those were most of the breaking combinations that we did, to give you a little bit of a taste. Let's see. Ooh, Dean Scott. I'm an ITF black belt secondary, and that split happened due to Jen Choi's son being expelled from the ITF for assaulting a master. When Choi died, his son told the ITF they couldn't use the ITF logo. Boom. Okay, there. I was looking for. There was a lot of gossip in the Dojang recently, so that makes a lot more sense now. Ah, yes. It's good to hear the background of this. So who would have thought on this Jets podcast we would have been able to get the answers to some of those Dojang rumors recently? I love it. Thank you, Dean, for that. I'm going to remember you forever, Dean. Thank you, pal. Gary Fuller. Carl is the bomb.com. I love Carl. He's in great shape. You see it on the video, the thumbnail video of him like ripped in the Jets. I mean, he is freaking jacked. Zandy says the same thing. Carl is so jacked his thighs have abs. I mean, he is a freak, man. And he's only going to get more explosive. Gary Fuller, OBJ all the way over Corey Davis. 100%. I prefer the high ceiling, the exciting plays, and the inconsistent we've got with Corey Davis. I'll give him that money as well. Rico the Pup. Here's part of the quote from Joe Douglas. Quote, it would be disingenuous and negotiating in bad faith if we went down that path. JD, I'm pursuing Lamar while trying to trade for Rodgers. Jason Lockenford blasted us for not doing so. I've got a story about Jason Lockenford one day to tell you guys, but not a big Jason Lockenford fan, I'll be honest. But no, we'll get more into that. Long story short, it does not sound like the Jets will even dabble in Lamar to like try to anger the Packers or move forward. It sounds like the Jets will not be, quote unquote, negotiating in bad faith. Timothy, need Ben Jones and Campbell to sign ASAP after he comes in. Well, we know Campbell's coming on Thursday officially, and Ben Jones, I don't believe that's scheduled, but I could see that. Still need Quan back. I'd love to go. Maybe it'll be another, I don't know if it goes as deep as training camp, but it waits a while and then ultimately comes back. The Jets wanted to retain as much of the defensive guys as possible. RKO, how does Denzel Mims fit into this wide receiver group of OBJ signs? Well, he doesn't. Traded, I would imagine about that. Yes, Timothy says he will be traded if he's here. Christopher, love your thoughts, views, and opinions. Thank you so much for the valuable information. 100%. Let me see if I got anything else in here. So here's the Aaron Rodgers update. I'm sure all you guys are on the edge of your seat about this. Matt LaFleur, the Packers head coach, and Robert Saleh talk all the time. This isn't new news, but this kind of leads us into the conversation. Matt LaFleur and Robert Saleh talk all the time, best friends, each other's best mans, and all that stuff. They agreed to, quote, let the GMs figure it out. So they talk all the time, but they kind of said, hey, we're not going to talk about the Aaron Rodgers stuff. Let's let the guys upstairs handle it. So that's what they're doing from that standpoint. They do believe that ultimately that's going to get done. That was interesting. Other Aaron Rodgers stuff. Again, Robert Saleh couldn't really talk about it because of tampering. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers still a member of the Green Bay Packers, but he does. I'm just going to kind of generalize a lot of the comments we heard. Optimism from Robert Saleh, it's going to get done at some point. He would love to have his quarterback figured out 3 years ago, was his direct quote. But, hey, we're going to figure it out. To me, again, the big pivot point are a couple of things. The NFL owners meetings right now that are for the next couple of days in Arizona. You have the NFL draft that's a month from today, by the way. Happy month away from the NFL draft. Draft Day, one of the best movies of all time. I can't say that enough. I'm going to do what's best for the team. I mean, we can just start trading Draft Day quotes back and forth if we must. So we're a month out from the NFL draft. Again, if the Packers want picks that can help out immediately, better get that trade done before the draft. And number 3, the other big one, is coming up in late May, like May 18th. That's when Jets start practices. So we're going to get the OTAs, the mandatory minicamp in a row, May's and June, and then the big gap. We have like a month and a half between the end of mandatory minicamp and the start of training camp. That's the big glut. So you'd want, in a perfect world, Aaron Rodgers at the latest back before that May timeline. So that is less than 2 months away. So that's the other big pivot point. Let me see if there's another Aaron Rodgers quote to share with you guys. No, that is it on Aaron Rodgers from Robert Saleh, from that matter. A couple other ones here. I'll share a couple with you, Christopher. Quote unquote, Mecole Hardman was a no-brainer. The Jets did not think they were going to get him, and then suddenly he became available. After the Jets brought in Hardman, they, quote, had a lot of different phone calls on Elijah Moore. They, quote, were not shopping him, according to Robert Saleh, but Cleveland was aggressive in their pursuits. A couple other, I'll just share some random nuggets here. OBJ, quote, always great, always interested in bringing in great players. That was Robert Saleh on OBJ interest. He said Mekhi Becton, quote, looks good, and was really super impressed by that. Ben Jones, yes, for sure, interested. The Jets are in him. I mentioned the Carl Lawson nugget. AVT, they'd like to keep him at right guard. That was another nugget from Robert Saleh, but he wouldn't confirm that 100%. We'll see how the rest of the line plays from that perspective. And here's the other big one, guys. And then then I'll answer all the parts of the headline that we promised. Zach Wilson. We just did a story, a video, if you will, on YouTube, and a story for that matter. You guys could check it out, youtube.com/BoyGreen25. And the big news was from Brian Costello of the New York Post that Aaron Rodgers and Zach Wilson have been speaking recently since all the trade drama, and things are great. Robert Saleh, there's another nugget I forgot. Robert Saleh said he's been in constant contact with Zach Wilson throughout the offseason, and he's, quote, good with the Aaron Rodgers stuff, and he talked to him after the Pat McAfee thing and everything. So they've been in complete communication with him. And why is that important? Zach Wilson is QB2, although Robert Saleh had a bit of a slip-up. Robert Saleh was asked, again, Robert Saleh by himself with media all around him. They asked him, hey, is Zach Wilson QB2? He said, quote, as of now, for sure. All of a sudden, a lot of us went, zoinks? What was that? What'd you just say? And then Robert Saleh went, whoa. I know that's going to be the headline as of right now. Let me clarify that. Zach Wilson will be QB2. But I was about to say, for a second, I saw the quotes from all the beat reporters that I follow, of course, Rich Samiti, Zach Rosenblatt, all those guys. And the tweet was Zach Wilson to QB2. I said, oh, that sounds pretty definitive. And then I heard the comment of as of right now, and I'm like, well, that's not what he said. And he did ultimately clarify it. So a little slip of the tongue there by Saleh, but he did confirm that Zach Wilson will be QB2, which, by the way, makes sense as of hell or high water. And you guys can all agree or disagree on whether or not you think that should happen. But according to Saleh, he will be QB2. So, Christopher, appreciate that, pal. Let's keep it going. Again, guys, if you're watching right now on YouTube, make sure you guys hit the like button. It makes a huge difference to the YouTube overlords. And also hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get to 5,000 subscribers, baby. So we'd appreciate all of your guys' support in that very department. Also, so those are the free ways to contribute. Like the video, hit subscribe. You can also, if you're on YouTube, use the YouTube Super Chat feature where you throw a little change in my tin cup. I will give you a shout out on the show, and of course, we'll get to your comments. I try to get to all your guys' comments, but it doesn't always work out that way. But if you Super Chat, it guarantees that gets answered. All right, let's go through a couple more here. Let's go. Timothy, we should sign Lamar Jackson as the long-term answer. We need that for a change, although the injury history, I would say. I think the Jets are more so worried about right now than the long-term. Would you like Aaron Rodgers at 18 years old? Of course. But I think they're worried about the right now. The risk of injury. Christopher says that as well, risk of injury. Why are we looking for a safety when we signed Chuck Clark? He's a beast. They traded for Chuck Clark, but I'm thinking people are not satisfied with Jordan Whitehead, would be my speculation on that, Gary. I don't think a lot of people are on the Jordan Whitehead ball club. Larry Coleman here. I feel like a big splash is coming. That second-round pick we got is major. What if the Rodgers situation drags past the draft? What big-time under-the-radar players JD targeting? Interesting question. Let's think about it. There's been Hopkins rumors, but I don't think he ends up going for the second that the Cardinals have been asking for. I'd prefer OBJ personally over DeAndre. You just sign him as opposed to giving up an asset. Who's an under-the-radar? This is a great question. Let me think for a second, Larry. Who's an under-the-radar player? You got to start thinking position. So, like interior defensive line, is there a contract year guy you could add? Linebacker. Maybe they dig in on a Deion Jones or something. Miles Jack shook free from Pittsburgh, but those are free agents. You're good at corner. I don't know if there's another safety that Kevin Byard. Okay, there you go. You want a name? Kevin Byard. He's got some ruffled the feathers with Tennessee. He could make sense as an option. I'm not sure if it's a second-round pick, but Kevin Byard's one of the best safeties in the league, super underrated. He could make sense. Offensive linemen are always hard to trade. Do you want Jonah Williams? He was terrible last year. Yeah, those are about the guys, and maybe a wide receiver trade if you dabble. Maybe in Denver, Cortland Sutton, maybe. Although Sean Payton says they don't want to trade one of those guys, that's possible. Let's see. Let's see. There you go. Rika the Pup. As long as OBJ, Lazard, Garrett, and Mikal aren't taking weird shirtless photos on a boat, I'm okay with OJ. That seems fine. R&R, is Fant still in the mix? I would say not, honestly. I heard that he was talking with the folks down in Miami. We saw that report. But no, I do not believe he's in the mix to come back. I think both sides have moved on, I would say. We had George Fant on the show last year. He was fun, but I don't think so. Pierre Thomas. Lamar is the nuclear option if Rodgers trade falls through. That's a good way to put it. That is true. Pierre, Aaron is coming. We're good, folks. Yeah, I agree. Gary Fuller, what's the deal with Schweitzer? We signed for the Commanders. Is he good enough to be our starting center? Maybe in a doomsday scenario, but no, not ideally. He's an interior offensive line depth. Versatile guy, play a lot of different positions, but no, Schweitzer is not a starter. Maybe he can be with all the injuries the Jets have all the time. Gio, if for any reason Rodgers' plan falls through, who do you see as the Jets doing for quarterback? Lamar Jackson, I would imagine. If it gets nuclear and he's still available, I think it would be Lamar Jackson. Jets are swinging for the fences. Let's go to this one. Roger, would be interesting if Jets use Lamar as leverage in the Rodgers standoff just to get Shefty to start a rumor. Well, Joe Douglas just said he wouldn't be willing to do that. Now, maybe that changes if of course, if things keep getting froggy here from that perspective. Let's go to Frank Taver Prez. Big Boy Green, love the hat. Where can I get it? I got it on the official jetshop.com. I was featured in the New York Jets Twitter documentary. As soon as I got the invite and they were going to bring me into their facilities, I had to get brand new gear. So I got this hat, and over there is the official Jet thing that I wore during the Twitter doc. So, yes. And, of course, by the way, I don't know if we'll have time to throw it up here, but the Jets draft hat is out. I am a freak for hats. I mean, you can see the safari hat. This is for I'm going on a cruise in August, so I'm going to be wearing that obnoxious hat. And also, in this hallway over here, floor to ceiling are hats. I have, like, these rubber, like, clips on the wall, and the Jet hats everywhere. Jet hats everywhere. But, yes, I'm going to have to do the Jets draft hat shirt combo. I love doing that. But this like jetshop.com, something. That's where I get most of mine. Mr. McMoney, Paul, should we bring you in as RB3? I am, for those who do not know, a former running back at Oswego High School. Yes, sir. Yeah, I had a wonderful career as a running back, had 5'3" and a slanted hill. I loved being running back. I loved taking hits and delivering hits. I was a little speedster. You have to be being that small. So, yes, Jets, you have my number. You brought me into the facilities. Maybe they didn't bring me in the facilities for the Twitter doc. Maybe they brought me in for a workout. You never know. You never know. Allen, 2 of offensive tackle, center, linebacker, free safety will be drafted in top 43 picks in a month's time. It could be. I think they like the center market in the draft. Linebacker, I don't think so. I think linebacker would be Quan. I know you're just kind of giving all the options, but linebacker, I think Quan's brought back. Center could be like a John Michael Schmitz or Luke Whippler. Offensive tackle, maybe if you get one of the top ones there, whether Broderick Jones, Parrish Johnson, who's the other one? Peter Skoronski, obviously. Free safety, we'll see. The safety class overall, like, kind of sucked at the combine. So the whole group, I think, is going to get pushed down. And you have a lot of different crazy, just overall safety, not just free safeties, but like Brian Branch and players of that ilk. So that'll be interesting. Joe Douglas, stand firm. Yeah, 100%. It's funny. It's like, 2 people are fighting, and there's kind of like a mosh pit of people around, and they're like chanting to him, "Stand strong, Joe. Don't give in." Like almost like an arm wrestling contest between Joe Douglas and Brian Gutekunst. And then like the Packers people are like, "Don't let Aaron Rodgers go for crap. Hold on strong." And everyone's just kind of like yelling. I don't know. Kerry, y'all know he's not showing up till training camp. I don't buy that. That would surprise me. Maybe it happens. Again, I can't confirm it 100%, but that would surprise me if this doesn't get done till July. But if he's traded to the Jets before that point, he's showing up for the mandatory and OTAs and stuff. I feel pretty good about that. Jay Long, I'm done with Zach Wilson until 2025. I don't believe he will ever be what we thought. That's Jay. If you were a betting man, the money is placed firmly in your camp. I'm not saying that Zach Wilson is going to be the savior. I can't say that, obviously, with any good faith or any confidence. However, it can't hurt. Here's the thing. You can't cut Zach Wilson. It is a financial disaster to cut him and an embarrassing disaster, quite frankly, 2 years after you drafted a guy. There's number one. Number two, you can't trade him. He's got zero trade value from what we understand. Outside of like a day 3 pick, and what are we talking about? So those things are gone. So you're paying him like, I don't know, $11 million in change. You can't pay him $11 million change to be QB3. As Brian Costello said on the Crew podcast, you destroy his confidence forever. Not only are you saying you can't be a starter, you can't even be the backup, pal. So go cryogenically freeze yourself. So he's going to be QB2, hell or high water. He's going to be the guy. And, of course, you're always one injury of Aaron Rodgers away from going to Zach Wilson. I would then say, well, if Aaron Rodgers goes down, you're probably screwed no matter who you had as your backup quarterback, but that's neither here nor there. And then let's just see. Maybe osmosis, Zach Wilson gets better. I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers is a great mentor. He's going to take him under his wing, say, hey, buddy, let's go out for ice cream after the games with Johnny, apparently. But I think it can only help Zach Wilson being in the same quarterback room behind the scenes, breaking down film and going through all that to just absorb from Aaron Rodgers and see where it goes. I don't know. Gary, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood featuring the sauce will own the back page of all the New York sports pages. It's going to be insane. I'm praying that Jets Nation can handle all this success on both sides of the ball. All rise. 100%. I'm looking forward to the Hard Knocks. The Jets will be featured in that. That'll be announced here in the near future. The primetime games, all that. That's going to be great. And I hope Jet fans enjoy it. Zach QB2. Absolutely. Love it. Yes, support the troops. Yeah, you can see it on the underbelly of the hat, all the support the troops stuff, and a little bit on the top. Yeah, my family is military. My father was in the Navy for 20 years. My brother was in the Marines for 4. I was supposed to be, before getting into sports talk radio and digital media and all this, I was supposed to go into the Army. I was a sergeant at JRTC. Sergeant Eston was ready to go overseas, and God knows what. And God has a plan. Everyone has a plan. And we moved up here to New York, and there's no JRTC in our neighborhood. So I'm like, well, I guess I got to figure something else out. Boom. Sports. Go figure. It's funny, the things that happen in life. So I have a very special place in my heart for the armed forces. JD Jets, glad the team is keeping Carl. I've been against all the talk about cutting him. Said last year we got a lot of pressures, open things up for others. Plus, year 2 after surgery is going to eat. 100% my take. Yes. Matthias, Jets have had productive conversation and trade talks with the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. Again, I feel like they're now close. Like, what are we talking about? 5th to 4th round? I don't know. I don't know how close. I just know they have to be relatively close with the Jets to meet him in the first place. To even get this far, Aaron Rodgers wouldn't have said, I want to be a Jet if there was no chance. So, like, I just feel like we're close, but they just got to make up the difference. Jacob, call the Packers bluff, draft at 13, 43, and 44, and give them picks for next year and make them make the decision. That could be bold, Jacob, if we get to that point. That could be. Then the Jets have 13, 43, 44 to build. It's 42 and 43, not 43 and 44. So it's 13, 42, 43. Depending on the site you may be looking at, they may be counting the Miami Dolphins forfeited pick, which backs up everyone around. But it's only 31 picks in the first round, so they will be 42 and 43. But yes, to your point, you could add those picks to help build the team, which, by the way, would not be a bad idea. And then you could get a little crazy. Let's see. Bottom line, your opinion, do we give up 13? No, I do not believe so. I do not see a scenario where that happens. Avatar. Trade for Darnell Savage in the Packers deal. I've heard a few people bring that up. I'd be interested. Bengus Garcia. By the way, which is similar to the name that the guy who's doing my knee surgery is also named like Bengus Garcia, which is kind of weird. Maybe you're the guy. You've been floating for a while. Hey, Boy Green, any swing tackle to be had, free agent or draft? Swing tackle. None off the top. I mean, sure, in the draft, like a, oh my God, Syracuse. Let my brain hit me here. It's going to hit me in a second. There's a Syracuse, Matthew Bergeron. God, it took a second. Matthew Bergeron, day 2 or day 3 could be interesting from a draft perspective. And we'll see free agency wise, because again, they may already have that on the team. Dwayne Brown, Mekhi Becton, Max Mitchell, potentially. So they may already have that on the team, but keep an eye out for whoever I just said, Matthew Bergeron out of Syracuse. Sergeant CVO here. Who's got a better beard, you or Green Bean? Great question. By the way, we're going to have Green Bean on the show, but he had something come up last second on my Sickish Jets podcast, Eva. He will be joining me. I think it'll be next Monday. So keep an eye out for that. I'm looking forward to it. I'll also be on Jets Talk 24/7 tonight at 8 o'clock. Looking forward to that. I think that'll be the first time on his show. I was on his draft special, but this will be fun. Who's got to, I'll let the fans be the judge of that. I've got a little bit more color in mine, although that doesn't necessarily guarantee better beard, but I'm curious what the fans think. Anthony Joseph, Boy Green, what's happening? Appreciate you. Frank, cool, thanks and all the info you give us, Jets for life, baby, 100%. Is Boy Green the new Vince Papali? I love that movie. Invincible is such a great movie. But yes, I am Mark Wahlberg. Thank you. Yes, I am. I am Mark Wahlberg, baby. JD, that is funny. That's kind of, yeah, that Joe Douglas would destroy Gutekunst in an actual arm wrestling match. Mark Murphy joining us, the president and CEO of the Green Bay Packers. Are Jets comfortable rolling out Zach Wilson this year? Do Douglas and Saleh lose their jobs? Are they comfortable? They've called Zach Wilson QB2. So today, they didn't say he will be QB2. They said he is QB2. So are they comfortable with him being the starter? No, Mr. Mark Murphy. And thank you for carving out the time to join us out live from Arizona. Do Saleh and Douglas lose their jobs? If Zach Wilson's a quarterback, probably they would lose their jobs. But here's the thing that people can say, that's what Packers people have said. Enjoy Zach Wilson, suckers. Give us pick 13 or you'll have Zach Wilson. I say to that, interesting. So you're paying $60 million to a backup, and if you're not, then Jordan Love's requesting a trade. He's like, screw that, I'm the starter. So the Packers have their own set of issues too, where the Jets can dare them to go in and pay Aaron Rodgers $60 million. You got to pay him one way or the other, or another team does from trade, and there's no one else. So, Anthony, how long will the trade be official between the Packers and the Jets? I think it happens. So we're in the middle of the NFL owners meeting. So those end on the 29th, which is, let me see what day of the week. I'll pull up my calendar here. Which is Wednesday, is the final day of the owners' meetings. I say end of the week. Give me April 1st. April Fool's jokes galore. Gary Fuller, what are the Jets Nation thinking? Moving up to draft to 3 with Cardinals. I smell a rat. Yeah, no thanks. Yeah, 13-3. I don't think so. I haven't seen that anywhere, but no. Because what are you moving up for? That's quarterback territory. I'm not going with any young quarterbacks anymore. Hell no. And by the way, if you did, then you ruined your whole Aaron Rodgers advantage. If you use 13 to get an offensive tackle or whatever, or you could trade back into round 1, use 42, 43 to get in to 17 range and then grab another first rounder to help out the team, fine. But nah, they're not moving up to 3. No. Let's see. Packers playing checkers, JD chess tournament. Could be. Yes, that was another cool nugget. I can't remember where I saw that. I think, yeah, there was Brian Costello as well. Yeah, interesting nugget. Because Aaron Rodgers, isn't going to play in the preseason games. Remember, the Jets have 4 preseason games this year. It used to historically be 4. Then they cut it down to 3. But teams who get the Hall of Fame game get 4. So that'll be interesting how the Jets play that. Robert Saleh also said, another aside, that joint practices are going to be happening in preseason week 2 for the Jets, which is preseason week 1 for everybody else. Again, we don't know who they're going to be playing in that game, but there will be, in theory, again, remember, Zach Wilson missed all the joint practices last year because of the injury. He should get plenty of time to rebuild himself. And with all this talent, OBJ and stuff, I'm Zach Wilson. I'm coming with confidence, and hearing whispers and insight from Aaron Rodgers, yeah, I'm into it, man. Dakota, Rodgers, OBJ, Calais. Yes, please. Bergeron. Yes, Rico the Pup. Anthony, what are my plans for the NFL draft? Great question. I turned 30 the day before the NFL draft. I will tell you, number one, again, every year, I say this all the time, but can't say it enough. On the Thursday, which is the first round of the draft every year, I watch a movie, Draft Day. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I freaking love Draft Day. One of my best movies overall is Tommy Boy. But taking a step back, sports related, it's Draft Day number 1 and then Remember the Titans number 2. So I will do that. There have been some speculation. That I could go to the draft this year. That's in Kansas City. Not official. My people talking to their people, but there's a chance. But with this knee injury and likely having surgery somewhere in that range, that may knock me out, unfortunately, for those plans. So I may just be at home doing the draft. I will say we tried a live stream last year, and in theory, it was going to be a lot of fun with the Jets having so many picks and trading up and stuff. But I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be blunt with each and every one of you. You guys can reach out to me on the side on social media, but I just feel like doing a live stream at the draft where obviously I can't show you the television coverage. If I could, maybe that'd be different, but I don't have the rights to that. So then you're just looking at my face here on the draft. Maybe a lot of you want to see and hear that, maybe. But I don't know. Last year I was kind of like, man, you guys want to hear your shows? Is it ESPN, NFL Network, or even the great digital streams like Connor Rogers and stuff? Like, you don't want to listen to me. Like, I can give you guys great insight immediately after the pick is made and bring on cool, fun guests to break down the Jets draft. But watching me watch the draft and you can't see the draft at the same time, I don't know. I just feel like it loses the allure. I know a lot of people have asked about that, but I don't think we're going back to the live stream from that perspective. We tried that last year. I thought it was kind of a disaster. But other people do great streams. The Jets Talk 24/7, Matt O'Leary, all those guys do like on day 2 and day 3 parts of that, which is cool. All right, let's bang through a couple of these questions. JD Jets. Green Bean has more experience, but Boy Green's beard has the potential. Ah, yes. That's the best way I've heard it described. Great job, JD Jets. I love that. Nose kills. Neither Jets nor Green Bay is leverage now because neither is under pressure. If Green Bay wants 23 picks, we'll know how badly in a few weeks. Then the next milestone is Camp's OTAs. 100%. You nailed it, Nose kill. So we will see how important it is to the Packers. I think Joe Douglas knows that it's incredibly important to the Packers from that standpoint. Rico the Pup. If Love is successful this year in Green Bay, can that be considered a sign of Hackett's ability to coach up a quarterback? Is that a good sign for Zach, or am I looking into it too much? That's an interesting question. I think we're kind of grasping straws, Rico. I don't think if Love has success, we can base that off and say, oh, look at this. I think they're separate scenarios. People are high on Jordan Love. Let's see ultimately what it is. But I've got confidence that Nathaniel Hackett and Aaron Rodgers and everything, like Zach Wilson should be able to benefit from that. How much? It's impossible to prognosticate. I'm sure we'll get excited about it when Zach Wilson has a crazy throw in the preseason or somewhere like, boom, there's our guy. Best backup in the league or whatever we're going to say. But I think we're stretching too much for that conversation. WagG, Aaron Rodgers 12 can run the new option offense in the games in the preseason for Packers since we'll be paying $60 million and he hates us now. That's funny. That's funny, but interesting. Gary Fuller, Boy Green, what is the compensation the Packers owe? Show me some love. In May, if they want to extend his contract, will that help us close the deal? Yeah, Love is going to get, if you're talking about Jordan Love, is going to get the 5th-year option exercise from what I hear in early May. That's when the decision deadline comes. And again, it's just weird because you would want to have the Aaron Rodgers thing figured out before that decision. Everything I hear, though, they're going to exercise that 5th-year option, which is a team option, which will keep him under contract through 2023 and 2024. He could reach unrestricted free agency in 2025. But so, no, I don't think that will help close the deal either way. I think they're, quote-unquote, all in on Jordan Love. We'll see whatever that means, but I think they are. Jesse P. Do Jets take a tight end like Kincaid or any other tight end in the draft and turn Ruckert into a fullback? Interesting question, but no, I don't think so. I've heard people compare Kincaid to like the next Travis Kelce, but with the construct, and again, I love after the Jets have ignored tight end for a decade, I'd be all for the Jets continuing to invest as I was last year, but with Tyler Conklin's contract restructured, with CJ Uzama's contract restructured, they're here. That's not changing. Jeremy Ruckert was cryogenically frozen, and maybe he could play a little H-back, but they re-signed Nick Bowden, and we brought up that idea last year, and the Jets didn't bite. So I don't know. I think Ruckert is. Well, we'll see what the plans are for the Jets. We don't know. I don't know what the plans are for Ruckert. If I was you, Jesse, that's an interesting thought, and maybe I do it. And I don't know if I fully transition him like, okay, you're only a fullback now. Maybe get float around as an H-back, what Trayvon Wesco was supposed to be, but obviously never was. That would probably be my thoughts on that. So very interesting, but I'm not sure the Jets are committed to that. They picked Jeremy Ruckert, the number 101 overall pick. I don't think they're shoving him over at fullback. All right, everybody, boom. There you go. There's all the comments. There is all the Robert Saleh stuff. Again, Joe Douglas spoke earlier. We'll have a separate video on that later this evening at some point. So, guys, make sure on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/boygreen25. You guys like the video and subscribe and hit the bell notification so you never miss a gosh darn video, baby. A nice middle of the day Monday pod diving through all the Robert Saleh stuff. Again, we'll go back through a lot of this here. A couple of big notes. If you missed the Robert Saleh presser, here's what you missed. Carl Lawson's a Jet. That's not changing. This is just based off comments from Robert Saleh today. He was emphatic and said, I'll speak for Joe on this one after deflecting on most of the other personnel questions. Ezekiel Elliott will not be a New York Jet based on the latest comments from Robert Saleh. The interest is real for the Jets in all three free agents that they're looking at. Odell Beckham Jr., quote, always interested in great players. Again, they'll have to work out financials. Ben Jones, they are interested in making that move. Calais Campbell, they're bringing in for an official visit on Thursday. Those three players they're interested in. They love Mecole Hardman. Elijah Moore, they didn't shop, but they ended up trading. An aggressive offer from Cleveland got that done. ABT right guard. And the Rodgers trade will happen eventually. There you go, everybody. Booyah. There are all the necessary updates for all this. Again, guys, here's the latest. If you're watching live right now, again, at 8 o'clock, I'll be joining the Jets Talk 24/7 live stream. Looking forward to that. That's going to be a great honor to do that. And at some point, probably after that, we'll have the full Joe Douglas video up on the channel as well. Probably a live stream as well. Worst case, though, we'll have just a video uploaded to the YouTube channel. So I hope you guys can join us for that. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we will see you next time here on the channel. Wink!